Welcome back, everybody, to Rob's MetalWorks. We are here. We have returned to the Grizzly Hall here in Austin to support one of our favorite artists and his kick-ass brother. I have with me Max and Igor. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is my pleasure to have you back on our program.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be back. Texas, of course, has a long history with me and Max.
Yeah.
So, and it's always good to be back here, you know. It's like, especially doing this right now, it's such a special thing with a return to roots. So I'm really glad to be here.
Max, welcome back, sir. It's always good to see you. I always love talking to you because I was telling my primo on the way up, I said, Max is just a cool dude, man.
Try to, you know, just love being, you know, a fan of metal and do everything connected, related to the world of metal. You know, it's so, like Igor said, it's a special, it's a privilege to be able to play Roots 20 years after the record was out, and we're having so much fun. You know, this is a great bill with Full of Hell and Immolation, two kick-ass bands. So the fans are coming and having a night full of great metal, you know.
A brutal night, yeah.
Brutal.
Also the locals, like most of the places we've been playing, besides the package that we bring, there's a few locals, which is really cool. I think it's important to support your scene. So it's cool to have, like, not only
Just the
us,
tour.
yeah, but also, like, in the beginning of the night, if you bring on some of your local stuff, I appreciate that.
Igor, I'm glad you said that, because now I have to give a shout out to our homeboys from Pagan in Seguin, which is a small suburb of San Antonio. They're opening up the show tonight. Yeah, cool. Max, I kind of want to start. I'm going to ask both of you guys this question. You know, it's a great thing that we're commemorating the release, the 20-year anniversary of Roots. Definitely a significant record. But first of all, I want to start. When you think about that time, 20 years ago, what do you remember about yourself at that time? Not the record, but about who you were as an artist 20 years ago.
I haven't changed that much, actually. You know, I just really love what I do, man. You know, I'm excited for, you know, creation, you know, creating things. You know, Roots was a very, apart from being an important album, it was also a very creative moment in our career when we're kind of looking back a bit to our Brazilian own roots of music mixing with metal, and because of that, it created one of the most unique records ever made in the metal world. And when it came out, it surprised everybody that, you know, there was all kinds of reaction, positive and negative, but I think down the line, people realized it was actually we were making a very strong album, very different album. I still have the same passion. I love creation, you know. I'm looking forward to after we're done with this, create new music with Cavalera,
Nice.
Killer BQ and Soulfly down the line, and you know, just looking forward to always do stuff, man. I just like to keep busy, you know. I don't like to go home and do nothing. So going on tour is great. Making new music is great, you know. So that's how I was at that time of Roots, and that's how I am now. So pretty much the same.
What about you, Igor? What do you remember about what do you remember about yourself at that time? What were you thinking, feeling?
I think, like Max said, we were very fortunate that we can do what we've been doing for so many years, and the fact that we're still here playing this today, it's very special. And I think the main difference, I think, is just as us as human beings, like growing and learning more and more, never stop learning. You know, like, I think drum-wise, from Roots to where I am right now, I'm still learning. You know, I'm still, like, absorbing things. Like I watched, for example, the drummer for Full of Hell last night.
Yeah.
And for me, that's very inspirational to see, like, such a young kid, like, destroying the drums, and those things for me are really cool. You know, it's like, it's an endless process of learn and also passing some of your experience to others. So I think it's a cool exchange musically.
I think people also too we're very happy to not only see you guys back together, because we've seen it in Cavalera Conspiracy, but seeing you guys together doing Sepultura music. And we were thinking about these things today, and it's kind of ironic how things in the career of Sepultura and your guys' career has kind of panned out, but yet you guys can still go back and commemorate and celebrate a release like Roots, because obviously Roots is who you guys are. You guys are at the heart of that band at that time. So how important was it for you to celebrate Roots, and whose idea was it?
It's very important, I think, because it's a very special record. I like everything we did. I even like the early phase, the black metal phase, the Best of Devastation and Morbid Vision. I think is a very innocent time. It was very naive, but we were just so in awe of stuff like Hellhammer and Venom that we were just in a very primitive way, because we had bad instrumentation and we didn't really knew how to play that good, but our own instinct, the instinct that was recorded in those albums, is still influential today in a lot of the black metal scene, especially like Norwegian, Swedish black metal bands. They love that phase of Sepultura, Yeah. And then there's the other phases, Beneath the Remains and Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, Arise of a lot of people, the classic albums, And then Chaos AD, I think for me, it's a great record. So we learned so much on that record with Andy Wallace, and recording in England, and then came Roots, which was another surprising, and I think that's what was cool about our part in the Sepultura history on those records. They were different from each other. They were never the same. We were never happy with just copying ourselves. We was like, okay, we done it. Let's do something else. We already done this. Let's do something else. Let's see what else can we go with this. Let's see what else can we take this. It's very difficult to do that. People don't understand. Very difficult.
Is that because some people in the band don't want to change, or they get comfortable doing one thing, or they're scared of the backlash?
It's the easy way is just to copy a record over and over, but the hard way is to do something like we did. I think when you put Roots together with Morbid Visions and together with Beneath the Remains, it's almost like three different bands in the same band, the only other example I think that kind of did that is Entombed. They had like the death metal early career and then did the stuff later on, and I'm not sure which one I like more. Because sometimes I'm listening to the old Entombed stuff, it's great, but sometimes I listen to Wolverine Blues and I'm like, this is amazing too, I don't even know which one I like more. I like both a lot, so it's kind of the same. And the second part of your question, I can't take credit for the idea. It was Gloria's idea. We're having a show in England, and in London, IGOR came to jam Roots, and the place went crazy. And she was like, "You guys should do the whole record." And we're like, "Yeah, let's try." So we did a festival in Canada called Amnesia, and it went on like on fire. Man, people loved it, and it's. I think it's so cool, especially for the people that weren't around there when Roots came out. A lot of young kids. I see a lot of young kids in the crowd. The other night there was a kid who was 12 years old. He played Arise actually. Say he could play Arise, and IGOR put him to the test. Gave him the stick. Sit down and play. Wow. Yes.
And it was funny because Max even made a joke with him like, how old are you? And he was like 12, and he's like, you're not even born when we did Roots. Right. And then he came back and he was like, yeah, but I can play Arise. And I was like, wait. Wow. Like, this kid, he has some huevos to do that. He's like straight up, and we're like, dude, come up. And then Max is like, look at me like, really? He was like, yeah. And then he actually played awesome. Like, he was really cool, like small dude, like beating on the drums, and he kept up the whole track. And it's funny because after the show, I think even Campos was saying that it was the first time he played the whole track, because you usually cut in a half and we go into Dead Embryonic Cells. Yeah. And he was like, dude, it's the first time ever we played the whole song. So I mean, stuff like that, of course, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I just put myself a lot of times in the fan perspective sometimes, you know, like doing the roots. That's where to really be doing this. That's how the exercise I need to do. It was like, if I was a fan, how would I feel about this? And I was like, yeah, this should be really cool. And same thing with this kid. I was like, dude, if I was 12 and I went to one of my favorite bands and they asked me to play a song, I would just die, you know. So it's cool to, you know, experience shit like this, you know. So that's where I think the main thing of doing roots, besides everything else, for me it was like putting myself into the fan way. And like Max said, like some of these fans never had a chance to see it when we did it. So that's really cool.
And can you imagine how many times he's heard that record to be able to play the drums?
Yeah, we never really played the whole Roots album either. You know, this is the first time that we're playing the whole record, and that's quite amazing. And I think, to me, it was surprising stuff that I didn't think was going to be good live, and it became completely great live, like Look Away and Ambush, that we do the drum jam with the other drummers from Immolation and Full of Hell. And
some of these songs, correct me if I'm wrong, some of these songs back in the Roots era, some of these songs you didn't play live, right?
Never.
Yeah.
Never played Look Away. Yeah. Never. I don't think we play Ambush, especially not with the drums. I don't think. There was other stuff on Roots that was like. Yeah, the tribal song. That's IGOR does that with the drums and the voice of the Indians, and that's really cool. So I think people they get to see something that they didn't even get to see. Even if you were around at the time of the Roots, you couldn't even get to see that because we never even went that far, you know. So this is very special because of that. And then on top of it, we do messing around later, playing little riffs of other stuff and covers like Celtic Frost and Motorhead, stuff that we love, you know. So it's a full set, man. It's fun, it's great, and we take it real serious to play as close to the record as possible. We just change a little bit to match more the live experience. You know, we do a little bit of it. It's a little bit different Look Away. It's a little bit different Endangered Species. Change the format a little bit. Rata Mahata also we change a little bit, but everything else is very close to the record, and we play on the order of the album, which is great. And I think I didn't know if it was gonna work good live or not until we did it, but it flows. It has a flow to it that's amazing. How I don't know.
And you play them like in the order that they're on the record?
I don't even know who did the order. If we did the order or
it's not the order.
Yeah, I mean we do exactly as if you're listening to like the vinyl live. Yeah. But like Max is saying, now when we look back, we're like, that was really well chosen. The way the tracks one go after the other, and of course, from where I can remember, we always involved in that, like the choices of what. I even remember, even before that, when me and Max we would talk about like what's gonna be the first song on side B, how you're gonna start the second, like almost like a second part when people flip the vinyl. That was really important at the time, where nowadays not as much, but at that time we knew the majority of people would either do that or flip the tape and go to the B side. So those things were very involved. So I think we did a good job on Roots also.
Yeah, it works out really good live. You know, it has a flow and has really cool dynamics, especially when you throw a song like It's Sorry on a mix, which is only we don't play. You know, it's only IGOR and the voice of the Indians. And at that point of the show, the crowd really just stopped. Like the circle pits stopped. There's just some crazy guys still go on a pit for that one, but most of the people stop and just kind of watch the show, you know. So it becomes kind of like a
for them. For these guys,
for us, it's a breather. For the crowd, it's a little bit of a breather. But my favorite part is actually I like the punk stuff of Roots, which I think was punk influence, stuff like Spit, Cutthroat, Stray Hate. That's for me. That's my favorite part of the show. It's like when I get to jump a little bit more and get more gets more on the fire of the show. Of course, the classics are great. The sing-alongs, Roots, Bloody Roots, Attitude, Rata Mahata. There's a little bit of everything, It's a record that it's very not one-dimensional. It was very, very different, showcasing a lot of different things on that album. And on top of it, it was also simple. We simplify. It was a kind of minimalistic approach to the songwriting, which was great.
Remember at that time when the record came out, there was a couple of things I think that intrigued a lot of fans. One of the things was, I think up until that point, nobody had really heard a legit metal record just be so tribal, with all of the percussion involved and some of the hymns of the metal, but also the celebration that you guys kind of input in who you were as Brazilian artists. I think too, a lot of people also kind of were captivated by that fact. And so, obviously there was a lot of love for the Brazilian culture, obviously still is, because you guys have always been proud of your country. Talk a little bit about that element, and because, I think it was way, turned up on Roots, where even though back in Chaos AD we knew you were a Brazilian man, but it wasn't just so out in the forefront like it was with Roots.
I mean, for me, it's really like you're saying, it's almost like a celebration of who we are. Like I grew up with those drum beats when we were kids. It's not something that I had to do like research or learn. It's almost like a natural thing to bring those. And I think the main element, it was to do it in a way that it didn't became like cheesy. Because at the time I remember, like when we talk about things like this, it's like there's a really thin line between doing just for the sake of being different and doing it for real. And then we felt like when we try, the more stuff that we try, especially with the tribal elements, it had to be something that we felt like really for real, not just like, oh yeah, now we're gonna do this tribal thing because we're from Brazil. It had to be something a little more legit to us. And for me, that's one of the main things also, drum-wise, that I'm really proud of it, because it definitely captures what the Brazilian music it's about. It's the influence of the African, the native Brazilians, and of course later with the European, with the metal. So it's a combination that pretty much tells what we are. We're all this mix of all of these things,
Also, since that time and 20 years ago, your careers have evolved musically. As musicians, you've evolved in doing other types of metal. And Max, I remember something intriguing the last time we spoke a couple of years ago. You said, Rob, I think I might, go back and revisit some of that tribal metal that I used to do. Is that something that maybe you're still thinking about for future Soulfly releases or other music?
There's always a possibility of that, but like Igor said, it has to be really well done, because there's a fine line of, if you don't do it from the heart, it goes wrong. People can see that you're faking it and you're not feeling it, and that's the worst I think that the musician can do is to fake, man. As if you're not feeling it, it's like don't do it, then don't touch it. I'm very really into the whole for real kind of thing,
You guys already set the bar kind of high with Roots, so you really gotta.
So yeah, if you do it, you gotta do a lot of do your homework on it, for sure, and do it right. And one of the things I was most proud of Roots was actually the fact that we work with the Chavantes. And why I'm proud of that is because before samba, before bossa nova, before Tom Jobim, before Carnival, there was the Indians there 500 years ago, and we tapped into that, and that was like in the heart, in the center of the Roots album, was us going back to the original Brazilian music. And I mean, that's really, you cannot not underestimate how important was for us to do that. And I think that was actually kind of like people in Brazil never even knew about the tribes, because we live there, and we don't live near the tribes. São Paulo and Rio and Belo Horizonte are big cities that are not in the tribal zones, you know.
Such a huge country, so it is quite almost like, you know, like countries within a country. That's how big it is. So for us to expose that in a very positive way was really cool, because like Max said, even people in Brazil sometimes never heard the Chavantes tribe, or even never heard that what kind of music they would do it, and we kind of like brought that to Roots, and that was really cool.
I remember reading at that time. I mean, obviously, you guys couldn't get these tribal people into the studio, so when you recorded them, you had to take the recording equipment out there. Right.
Yeah, it was a big production.
Wow.
Car batteries, because there's no electricity, so we had to bring the recorders with the microphones all plugged into. Also, we couldn't do a generator because of the noise.
Right.
So it was actually car batteries.
Wow.
Like, so it was really Roots, you know, like really for real. Even the recording process, it was quite like an adventure.
Wow. Also cool. One of the cool things I remember about Roots is that you guys had a lot of like guests on the record. You know, Jonathan Davis was on the record, DJ Lito. How did those kind of people get involved? Was that something too that you guys always wanted to do? Bring some of your friends or colleagues from the music industry into this record?
You started, you know, some of the early Sepultura stuff had a bit of that. You know, we had there was a song called "Stronger Than Hate" that had Kelly Schaefer from Atheist help with the lyrics. Then even before that, on "To the Wall," we had Korg from Chacal, another Brazilian band. And it's something that we always kind of like was like, you know, be kind of like share your metal with your friends. And as the band got more popular, we end up choosing other people. And then I think one of the coolest collaboration was Jello Biafra on KOZD, because like he's the godfather of punk, you know, type from Dead Kennedys, and he wrote the lyrics of Biotech's Godzilla, which was one of my favorite lyrics he ever done, with that kind of really, you know, black humor that Jello has, you know. And then it was time to Roots. I think it was Igor's idea to invite Mike Patton to be part of Look Away, and we end up asking also John from Korn to be part of it, and DJ Lito was also around the studio at that time, and then Carlinhos Brown, of course, was on Rata Mahata. He's a big Brazilian percussionist, very, very creative guy, man, you know. So a lot of the percussion in Roots is insane. The times we spend in the canyon, sometimes for 12 hours to use a minute, you know. So out of 10 hours of percussion, you only use 1 minute. Right. That's insane if you think about it, you know. But that's what makes it cool, man. Yeah. That's how the detail of the record was done in such a crazy way like that. But I think all the guests were cool, and you know, I kind of continued that afterwards with Soulfly, work with a lot of different people, and it's something I probably will continue forever, because I think it shows the kind of friendship that you have we're not competing with anybody. We don't need nothing to prove. We don't need to prove we are the heaviest or the most tribal or the most amazing band. We're not. You know, we don't need to prove any of that.
Even on Cavalera, we kind of like continue that by having someone like Roger Miret from Agnostic Front. Again, one of our heroes from the hardcore scene, come and do stuff. And then, of course, a few guests in Cavalera like Joe from Gojira, and so it is something that it's started way back, even like when we were in Brazil, about inviting certain friends and certain musicians that were into it to do stuff, and I think that's going to continue. You know?
Nice. You know, you guys are finally out on the road under the Max and Igor title, and I really like that. You guys have Mark Rizzo and Tony Cantu backing up you guys on stage, and obviously those two guys are, you know, veteran musicians, and I guess for some people, like the young kid that we were talking about earlier, this is like, for some people, a SEP reunion of sorts. you guys, the two original founding brothers who founded Sepultura, now doing this record. I mean, for many people, this is it, and they get to see it live. How enjoyable has it been on stage to kind of do these records with and having a kick-ass band up there to rock it out with?
It's solid. It's great. You can count on them. For the sound of it, and I think that's the most maybe a guess the surprising factor, I think, for the people that go to the show is how good it sounds, because the stuff just sounds awesome. You have a great bass sound, a great guitar sound. Mark plays everything note by note even better. And you have IGOR on top of his form, and yeah, man. Like my voice is still holding. I have no secret. There's no there's only my own voodoo involved.
Right. What did you call it? Last time you told me about it. What is it called in Brazil? The brujeria. What is it called? That's a certain name.
Candomblé.
Yeah.
Candomblé. I got my own thing going, and there's a special drink that I drink, but I won't tell anybody. It's like secret formula, like McDonald's, like Coca-Cola, right?
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, man. So it's intense. It's intense. We get out there when we feel the music here, especially when you have a good sound. We play through everything. You gotta play through everything. If it's a crap sound, you just gotta soldier up, man, and go for it, because the people sometimes they cannot tell. The sound on the stage might be totally different from the front of the house.
Right.
We might having a bad sound, and in front sounds amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, and I've been to shows where I was like, after the show I go talk to a band, and I was like, man, you guys sound sick, and they're like, it's the worst sound ever on stage. So now, like Max said, sometimes you're having a shitty sound on stage, but you can't just think about that. You have to somehow like soldier up and just go for it, because in the front it might be a complete different experience. So you can let that thing bring you down. So it's cool.
It's all rock and roll.
Yeah.
We kind of applied the same as the amount of people there at the shows. We've been very lucky on this, especially this Return to Roots has been breaking records. Like, it was sold out all across Europe and South America, and here it's been really good attendance. So we're happy. But if that wasn't the case, you still have to go and do a kick-ass show, because if there's only 20 people there, those 20 people deserve a badass show. Doesn't matter how much you don't want to go play, because there's only 20 people there. You still gotta go there and do your thing.
Even on a Monday night or a Wednesday night.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Valentine's Day and all.
I have to ask really quick, which is the hardest song that you had to relearn from the Roots era?
For me, I think it was Dusted. It's just because of the amount of different parts on it. Not really, like Max said, a lot of the stuff on Roots, it's very minimalistic in a way. But for some reason, Dusted, it just jumps from one part to the other, and to memorize all that stuff, for me at least, that was super hard. I was like, I mean, it took me listening, and then rehearsing to get to it. Where a song like Spit, it's almost like I know by heart, like, because it's like super simple and it flows. Dusted, it takes a little more to it, which again, yeah, it's cool, because once you get it right, also you understand why there was so much to it. It's a special song.
Guys, as we get near the end of this interview, just a couple of more questions, and one of them, kind of like, on a serious note, I mean, Roots also was the last Sepultura record with the original lineup, okay? And at that time, after, you completed the cycle for Roots and supporting Roots, did you guys think at that time, was there any inclination within the band at that time that this would be the last record with the original members? Did you guys ever feel those things?
Like stuff like that just happens. It's part of life, I think. The more you try to analyze and try to, I could have done this, I could have done that. It's really, it boils down to, man, it happened, and it had to happen, and you have to live with it. You have to just let it go. And I think that's really kind of how me and IGOR. For me, it's more important that I'm with him right now, and I love him, and I want to play with him again. And the rest is it happened. It's life. You adjust, you adapt. It's like adapt or die type situation. But I'm very proud of it, man. You know, I'm proud of our career, and I'm proud, and especially like Igor said, we're so lucky to be on our age and still be able to do it, you know, and have fun with it and enjoy it. A lot of people don't get that, man. You know, a lot of people got unlucky and die and cannot play anymore or whatever. You know, couldn't continue playing music for some reason, and we are very lucky that we can. So we don't take it for granted.
Health-wise and economically too, you know, that you can still, you know, have a career in heavy music. And as we end out, guys, obviously the first leg was successful. The second leg is also being successful. Do you guys plan to tour the rest of 2017? What's the plan for the rest of this year?
There's a lot of things, like we still have a few shows to do with Return to Roots after this US tour. Max also has a lot of, it's going to be a busy year. Like I'm doing some stuff in Europe with different bands, this band called SOX, touring with it, and so it's like, I think that's the most important thing. It's as long as me and Max, we're busy with our projects, like Max said, you know, Killer Be Kill, Soulfly, I'm doing my thing, and then we can always make it special, going back and visiting each other, hanging out with each other, doing, if it's, you know, if it's this, if it's Cavalera. But I think that's the cool thing about it. It's like keeping it in a very special way, you know, where we can still do this, jump into other things, and then jump right back into it. Yeah.
So, you know, Igor has his projects and he's gonna go do it. I got the projects, I gotta go do it, and it works out good, man. In the end, it's a bit chaotic to put all together, but the scheduling, but it works, you know.
But I think that's why you need good management to do that.
Yeah.
So me and Max don't need to stress with that. It's just a matter of us fine-tuning those things, so we know, like, yeah, oh, let's do this, you know, like this summer we do this and do that. So I think it's about that. It's about like being mature enough where we can choose what we want to do, and we can also share the other stuff with each other.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. You guys have given me a lot in this interview. You guys shared a lot, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm very happy to see the Cavalera brothers back together, and I hope that it continues forever. Any last words, gentlemen? Any last words?
Just want to thank everybody out there that came to the shows and enjoy with us, have fun. Super, super proud of this bill with Full of Hell, Immolation, Return to Roots, and the locals. You know, every city that we play, and look forward to a great 2017 full of metal for everybody.
How about you, Igor? Any last words?
Well, I think Max summed it up like what's about. It's about like us being here, enjoying ourselves, playing the music that we love, and hanging out with people that want to do the same as us, you know.
Carnalismo and metal. That's what it's all about. Remember, everyone, you saw Igor and Max Cavalera right here on Rob's MetalWorks. If you have not yet gone to go see them, be sure to check them out in 2017. You saw them only right here on Rob's MetalWorks.